and I'm sure some more are going to request to join us shortly. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. What I'd like to do is I'd like to just welcome everybody to start with to the pop-up workshop, and I'll just explain a little bit about how these pop-up workshops work. And the idea behind the pop-up workshops is this, is that once a quarter, all the fundraisers that are around Cape Town, and in now this case, there are a couple in Johannesburg too, we kind of normally get together and we take time and to be able to share with one another a little bit about what is, what is happening as far as fundraising is concerned for our organizations, your organizations, and that kind of thing. And then what we also do is we normally have a guest speaker. Okay, we would get together in Rondebosch, and the first 11 to 12 o'clock is normally the time that we give to the speaker. The speaker addresses a particular topic that is relevant to us. And then from there, we move on to take a couple of minutes break, and then we move on to the a section where you guys are able to tell us what's been happening on your side and that kind of thing. So what you want to do in that with the COVID-19 lockdown is we kind of want to follow the same route, okay? And what we want to do is we want to begin the session with some practical stuff this time, but basically a speaker, this particular time round, I'm going to handle the meeting. Next meeting, if I remember correctly, it's Eleanor Vaderman that's going to be speaking. And yeah, she's a very interesting lady. I've worked with Eleanor for a number of years. She actually did her PhD in fundraising. Very experienced lady with some brilliant ideas and raised lots and lots of money for organizations. So we're going to begin, for the new guys in that, I'm inviting you to be part of this. From our side, there's absolutely no costs involved. Okay, admitting some more people. There's absolutely no cost involved. It's a service that we give to you. And we want to just encourage as many people as possible to participate in this thing so that we can, kind of make this work. We can all stand together in order to be able to raise funds for our organizations and that. So basically, this particular lady, she was giving to the organization for almost 40 years. She started out at 10 Rand a month and ended up at 500 Rand a month. Okay. Once we put it all together, it was a huge amount of money. It really, really was a huge amount of money. And so what we did was that we decided to celebrate her. And we asked, we got her sister involved, and we organized a little party for her. She lived in a small town near the Swaziland border. And sister made sure she was home on the Wednesday morning. And we went there with cake and tea and coffee, and we did a whole big thing there. That kind of thing to celebrate. And I want to tell you, that had a major effect on our other donors. We showed that we care. Okay, so it's important that those relationships are built. I can never ever say enough about that. Okay, so we're going to move on now. Now we want to take a look at donor acquisition. All right. So what happens now is you're in a situation in South Africa now where there's literally no postal mail going out. So the old systems and that of sending mail and doing appeals and that really doesn't work very well anymore. Okay. Now, if you're in my situation, we do search engine optimization, and Google has a system whereby when we do Google My Business, they want to send a verification card to the business at the business's physical address. And we got to wait 22 days before we can request them to do it a different way, which is a pain in the neck because there is no street delivery. I can't remember when last I've actually seen one of those Google cards actually being delivered to the physical address and then contacting me and saying, hey, we just received this from Google. Just gives you an idea of the situation. So now we're kind of left to doing it several ways. Now, those of you who are Christian organizations, even working with churches today are hard. It's really hard to do that because pulpit time is valuable time, and very few churches will actually give you 10 minutes in a pulpit, okay, on a Sunday morning. So the next best way to go would then be to begin looking at social media as well. Now, there are other things you can do. I mean, there are organizations that go out and they'll go to a mall and they'll organize with the mall that they can have a table and they will share with people. But these things are really, really good, and I think we need to do them. If you're not getting out amongst the people, you're not going to get new donors. It's that simple, okay? So the key thing now, and the important thing to do, is to actually try to make sure that you can get out to where the people are once the lockdown is over. Obviously now there are limitations. The other way, and that is to begin getting people interested through things like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all of these different platforms. We find that that using Facebook is probably the best way, and especially now during this lockdown, people are going mad on Facebook. Okay, Facebook in some areas they've actually battled to keep up with things. So there's a platform now that everybody's sitting at home and they're using and things like that. And so that's where you need to begin working with your organization. So what I want to do today in the next hour is I wanted us to go and have a look at the different ways in which we can actually use Facebook. And really what this is an overview of these different platforms and what you can do and how you can do it. Now we are videoing this, okay, this session, and we'll pick it up and that from here on the video. So afterwards you can go to our fundraisers corner and you can go and watch the video, so that if you've forgotten something or you want to revisit something or whatever, you can feel free just to go there and watch it. Okay, if you're not registered on there yet, you can send me an email. If you're registered on this workshop, I will add you later today to our system so that you can log in. We'll send you the login. Go and watch that, and you can watch other pop-up workshops and other materials that are there for you to be able to kind of just gain some knowledge in that. And we are continuously working on growing the what we call the fundraisers corner on our website to make sure that you guys can get the information that you need. Okay, is there anybody who wants to comment or say anything at this point, add to what I've said? No one? Okay, again, feel free to jump in. This is not just about me sitting here and doing everything. What I would like to do is to include your input and things that we can learn from one another.
Yeah, guys, look, it's about working together. This isn't about selling a product or furthering our products. We're in a situation that's unheard of. It hasn't happened in any of our lifetimes. Last time something happened on this scale was in 1917. It took a year and wiped out about 50 million people. They actually stopped counting eventually. If you go read the history books, they stopped counting. They estimate a third of the world's population. It was the last time we were in this situation. What I think we need to do now is just work together. That's all there is to it. We can help each other where we can. I mean, back at Buggy, there's a whole bunch of you here. You've got a system that works, and it's a great system. We've developed a system on a different level that works for a different scenario, and it's a great system. But maybe there's some crossover, and maybe there's some ways we can help each other out. And that's all this is about. We're not trying to be good guys. We're just trying to be humans here. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with what Tyron is saying, is that we have to work together. If you think that there's no funds available during the COVID lockdown and things, just go take a look at what ENCA has managed to do in terms of raising funds and other organizations and that. One of our organizations, I won't mention which one, but here at the end of March, they were struggling to pay salaries, and we had a webinar, and after that, the fundraiser got stuck into some of the things that came out in the webinar, and within 2 weeks, not only had they covered the balance of the salaries that needed to get covered for their organization, but they had enough to pay April salaries and to do a whole lot of other things in that, purely because of the fact that they were able to take some stuff that they got here, and they were able to take it and put it and apply it, and it works. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now, can you all see my screen? If you can't see my screen, you need to let me know.
You can see
Okay.
your screen.
Right, you can see my screen. Okay.
Can
All
see
right.
it.
So, sorry. Everybody happy? You can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through just some of the stuff from Facebook and some of the things that we have found very effective in getting organizations interested in what you're doing and get them towards your donation platform. Okay. The important thing to realize when it comes to Facebook and things like that is that you have, I normally talk about online marketing in 3 areas. If you draw a triangle, your base at the left bottom is your website. On the right-hand side is your search engine optimization. And at the top is your social media marketing. All 3 need to be there and all 3 need to work together. Okay. If you're missing one, it's like somebody walking around that's missing an arm. Okay. Little less, things get a little bit more difficult to do. So you need to engage in all of these. Now, the website itself is where the trust for your brand or your product is established, not Facebook. Many people get this wrong. They think, well, I'm going to establish my presence, etc., through Facebook. No, it's the other way around. You see, if I go to your website at any given time, night or day, I need to see exactly what your organization is about and exactly what I need to do. And there needs to be a call to action on that website. In other words, this is what we do. We would like you to participate with us. We'd like you to partner with us through your giving, okay? Or that kind of thing. So that's where the trust for your brand is. I can go there anytime and I can find that information. It's easy, okay? Then you get your search engine optimization, and that's a tool which people use to find you. Now, I want you to understand one thing. People go to the internet to get, not to give. That's a primary principle when it comes to the internet. And you see it amongst the internet service providers. I mean, where's the big issue when it comes to giving you bandwidth? Okay, let's take a look at ADSL, for example. Your download could be 10 mega, or not 10 megabits, okay, 10 megabits, but your upload speed is going to be much slower. Why? Because you bring more data in than what you push out. You go to read stuff, you go to find stuff, you go to download music, you go and do all of these things, okay? And so that's the general principle. So what you've got to do is that you've got to then get out to the people. Now, search engine optimization will help in the sense that people will find your organization when they're looking for specific things, okay? But that is what we call pull information. In other words, I go to my computer, I go and search for you or search for your organization, and I find you in that. So I've gone to look for you. Social media, on the other hand, becomes what we call the conversation point. Okay, you go and you post something on Facebook, or on WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, on LinkedIn and things like that. And what happens is that it becomes something that becomes in your face. Okay, you are pushing the information out to the people using social media. So I go and I get onto my cell phone and I go and I look up Facebook and I open up Facebook and guess what? There's your ad. Okay, I didn't have to go look for it. It's there. Okay, so the important thing to understand is that when it comes to social media, you are now pushing things into people's faces. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. And you know what? You need both. Okay, it's not one or the other. You need both. Right, now we get a group of people that turn around and say, you know what? I do everything on social media. Okay, I do everything on social media, on Facebook or whatever. And that, well, my response to them generally is, well, if you're doing everything on Facebook, that's fine. But you could be getting a whole lot more if you were to apply all 3 of those principles in that triangle. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start going through this a whole lot, and I want to show you the things that we've been doing that have really helped a lot of organizations and our business clients as well in terms of doing marketing. Okay, now let's begin with Facebook, right? So Facebook, all of you will have a wall just like we've got here. And you can see that as I go down the wall, there are ads. There's all kinds of things that come my way. All right. So you can choose now to go one of several routes with this, depending on what your financials are, okay, and what your costs are and things like that, what you have available. You can make this work for you with very little work, but then you're going to need to be prepared to put a bit of money into it, or alternatively, you can do all the work yourself and handle it that way. Right. Now, I want to say to you that having done a bit of a survey into Facebook and how things work, right? For example, we have a business page. All right. Now, I'm going to talk not just about fundraising, but business in general. Okay. This has never ever brought us anything. It's never brought us any work. It's never brought us anybody in terms of the fundraising work we do and all of that. Nothing. And this is a general trend on Facebook, in looking at different Facebook stats and looking at other coaches that do online marketing, the whole lot. They will all tell you the same thing. Very little work comes through a Facebook business page. Okay. And there are a number of reasons for it, but generally I've never ever gone to a business because of or found services and used services because of a Facebook page. I have done it because of posts on my wall. Okay. That I have done. I've seen a post and I think, hey, you know what? That's something I need. I can go and get it. So step number one is you will need, if you're going to do sponsored advertising, you will need a business page. So if you don't have a business page for your organization, you need to look at setting that up, because you are going to need to have that in order to do a Facebook sponsored ad. Okay, let's go back to the wall. So step number one in that is that we will create ads, or you can create ads, have a little bit of graphic software and create simple ads like that one there. Okay. So we create that ad for ourselves, and you can see there's not that much text on it. Okay. Graphic ads that have a lot of text generally don't do very well. So basically it's a little bit of text there, and then the rest of what we would do would actually go into that. So we might say, okay, let me give you an example of how we would do this. So we would upload the ad. I'm just going to take this one and share it. All right. So if I'm going to share it on my profile, I would say something like this. Okay. All right, let's get that correct. Now, here's the key thing. I do two things at this point. All right. The first thing I do is I say visit our website. Okay. Or call me on 083 444 9800. Okay. I copy this text so that I can use it in further posts, but the first place I'm going to go is I'm going to go here. Okay. Control. There we are. First place I'm going to go is here, and I'm going to go and post this on my actual wall. And I will do this at least 2 to 3 times a week. Okay. Now, the one thing that you need to do in order to expand and make this more effective is to add friends. All right. So you can see, you can go down the list and get an idea of what you think would be good people. Remember, there's a lot of spammers on here too, so you need to be careful. Go and add some people each day. And they kind of can build this up. Now, if you don't want to do this on your personal profile, create a new profile with your name on it. Don't put your business name on there. Chances are that Facebook's going to block you. Okay. So what you do is you create this portfolio. Like I have a second one I can show you here that I use, and I use this primarily for marketing. Okay. So I create one here. There you can see is the ad. And I then go and I do all my marketing on this. I add friends. I've got about 5,000 friends on here, just under 5,000. which is the maximum that, that Facebook will allow you per profile. Okay, switch this back. Again, folks, stop me if you have questions. Okay, so we're switching back to my personal profile. Okay, so you can post here. Something else you can do is you can say to people here, you can like your own posts and you can comment and say to folk, okay, please share. Now, when I was with Transworld Radio, we made use, this is now a good number of years ago, we actually ran a competition, and this is something that you might want to think about. Okay, we offered a simple prize, okay, for people who could get this thing to be shared more and more times, you know, with different levels of share. So in other words, I share it with you, you share it with a friend shares it with a friend, okay? And because we were global, we divided it into regions, and whichever region was able to get the most amount of shares out of the thing were the guys that were going to win the prize, okay? And the prize was something like about 3,000, well, at that stage was about 3,000 Rand, which enables us actually just to buy lunch and everything for all the staff and have a nice little get together kind of thing, which is great. So we put this thing out and we started promoting it, and we got each of the staff involved in promoting it and sharing this ad level by level by level. Well, the Africa region won it. We managed to get it to be shared 64 levels, which is incredible. And it required some work from the person who was pushing it out there, because they needed to be in touch with everybody at different levels. But we got it 64 levels. Okay, and it brought in a lot of money because it pointed a lot of people to our website where we were able to market to them as well. And we added a number of donors to the list and that kind of thing, who just thought, wow, this is actually unique and something that people haven't tried. So there's an idea for you already, is that you can start looking at something like that. Okay, so marketing it here is great, okay? And you can add your ads, you can do what you want here, and that Facebook is not too fussy about it. There are some restrictions that they do have around things like religion and stuff, so you need to just be a little bit careful. And that the next level or thing that we do is Facebook groups, okay? So what you're going to do is you need to find different groups that are in your geographical area or the area of reach. For example, here we have Bedford Classifieds, okay, 860 members there. So you can join that group, okay? And you can see here they didn't have any requirements. I just joined it straight away. Right, here, take a look at this group, Small Business Advertising Horizon Roodepoort. We're actually in the process of developing a site for a church in Horizon, okay? But there's 7,800 people in that group. So we join that group. If it's up to the group to decide how they want you to join, some of them will not allow a business page, others do. I always join in my personal profile. It's just much easier, okay? So you go and you'll get some questions like this. Tell us about your services. Okay, for example, area of residence, Tyrants in Alberton. So let's use that. And I agree to the rules and I submit. And then one of the administrators will go and approve it. Okay. So you build up a whole list of groups and you can then market to that. So for example, we've got 3 clients at the moment that we're doing social media marketing for this way. And their reach is about 140,000 people. And again, the same thing happens. We ask those people to share it on, and often they do. I can sit here, I can start sharing, and I'll get little notifications that pop up that says so-and-so shared it. Okay, so then whoever's on their wall and whatever will also get it. So it kind of does this, it has this effect of growing out there, okay? Right, so what we do there is that we go and we post the ad. Now, here you've got to be careful because Facebook groups will only allow a certain amount of posting, and there are some basic rules. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find an ad here, and you'll see this ad was posted without a comment, okay? So when you upload your ad, post it without a comment, right? Then when you start sharing, that's when you're going to share your comments. So I'm going to go share in a group, okay? And I'm going to start out, let's say Edenvale. All right, so Edenvale area advertising, there's about 17, 18,000 people in that group. And I'm going to post that same message and I'm going to post it. Okay, so the rule of thumb here is when you start out and you're new, you've got a new profile, don't post more than 10 at a time. So in other words, share with 10 different groups, but stop at 10. All right. Later on, as your profile gets more established with Facebook, you can up that, but the magic number is actually 49. If you go over sharing one ad over 49, you get thrown into Facebook jail. And they stop you from posting for 4 to 5 days. They say, no, sorry for you. Okay. So the key thing is to realize that there are limits in that to what you can do here. What I normally do in this particular profile, I did a lot of posting. So they don't allow me to post more than 10 times on a single ad. So what I do is I just go and add the ad a number of times. Okay. And then I just go post it to the next 10 groups. On the other profile that I've showed you a few minutes ago, I don't have that problem. Okay, so I can post up to 49 times for a single ad without a problem, and they'll do that. So if they feel you're abusing it, they'll regulate you. Now, the thing that I've noticed over the last couple of months is that Facebook has actually relaxed on this. At one stage, we were having massive problems with Facebook and being able to post to groups and stuff like that. They kept blocking profiles. In fact, at one stage in that last year, they were so bad that just trying to get a profile approved sometimes was a problem, whereas they've now completely relaxed on that again. Okay. Any comments at the stage? Thoughts?
I think if I can chip in, I think from our side, like in terms of crowdfunding and using social media, the key thing for us is always good storytelling and a good video, or even like very good graphic content. So it's more about like sort of telling a story that sort of intrigues people, instead of like sort of like an advert kind of thing, but more sort of organic too, with people who share the post to add like a personal message saying like, I maybe know this charity, or I volunteered there before, or I personally know this person who's raising money for cancer, for example. It's all about sort of like the visual storytelling and just, you know, kind of getting that word out. I also have a few resources in terms of creating a video and like how to write a story for fundraising. So I also pop that in the chat. It might help someone. But yeah, I think it's more about sort of trying to cut through the clutter of Facebook, because you have so many ads already. So you kind of make it look like a normal, like nice story, instead of like this is what, like, I don't know, like an advert kind of thing. So I'm not articulating the best. But let me pop that into the comments section. Might be of some benefit. And we also have found that with video content, our campaigns tend to raise 4 times more funds. So we've been sort of tracking that trend for a while, and we have seen quite a big difference in terms of the amount of times people share content. So with video content, it's about 53% more shared. It's more engaging for people. So we try and encourage video as much as we can. Obviously, like a very short, like 1 minute clip. So if someone doesn't know you at all, and from 1 minute they can tell exactly who you are and what you're fundraising for, the positive impact of that. So we try and sort of reiterate that as much as we can. It's all about storytelling and something emotive and personal, and something that sort of cuts through all the sort of corporate advertising kind of thing. So hopefully that will help. The articles are on our Facebook page, but the links are there in the chat section.
Excellent. Zane, you make a very good point. And I know I've used an ad here because generally I don't do social media marketing for organizations. So I just grab an ad. But the point is it's a very good point. You know, you can go and you can go post information about your organization on Facebook or on social media and make it up as an ad like I've got it here on our side, okay? We can do that. But the problem with that is that it becomes very sterile. It doesn't reach the heart, okay? So the key thing to understand is that what actually hooks the person is a good story. So we did a test at one stage when mail was still running. We did an appeal letter that was, this is our organization, this is what we do, that kind of thing. And we sent it to a group of people, okay? We then took another one, we wrote another appeal letter where we told a story. And in this case, it was a story about a man who was crippled in Kenya, okay, at a place called Voi. And I had gone there on the way down to Mombasa and met this guy because he had written into us. And he had been paralyzed in an accident and he was very bitter and the whole lot. And the radio programs that we were broadcasting, somebody got the idea to take a radio and put it in his room, switched on to the Transport radio programs and walk out and leave the guy. He had no choice but to listen to the programs, okay? And the result of that was incredible, okay? And he was now telling his story. And because the story was a real life story and it spoke about the change in a guy's life from being bitter to becoming full of joy and happiness and whatever, making a commitment to Christ and the whole lot. Later, got a 40 donation. The other letter about several things about the organization. That one got nothing. Not one single donation came in from that letter. On our website, under the fundraisers corner, I've given some sample letters that Graham Wood gave us, okay, and forwarded to us. And in the sample letters there, you can see the kind of letters and the kind of writing that works very well. Now, that would work very well on Facebook. Again, you're not trying to manipulate people emotionally, but let's face facts. People identify with true life stories. Okay, they feel the person's situation, they feel the person's emotion, and therefore that gets a response out of them. Does that pretty much cover it, Zaid?
Yeah, I would also say a thing that I've noticed a lot with our charities, a lot of the time people kind of fall into that corporate writing kind of style, and then we often see people like copy and paste that onto Facebook or to their campaigns. That also doesn't speak to people. It's more about making it very tangible, very emotive, and also focusing on the positive emotion. We've also found that like about 45% of people respond better to a positive story than
yes, 100%.
So basically people respond about 6% more to positive stories than like a negative kind of story. So like if you go with the approach saying, if you don't give us money, these children will starve, that kind of puts people off automatically. But if you make people part of the solution and they kind of feel they're making a positive impact, your chance to raise funds is a lot higher than that. So people don't want to feel guilty, to read your content, but they want to see themselves in that content. So like focus on your geographical region and all the elements you kind of have with the story to make it appeal to people who will be reading it. So it doesn't look like just a corporate letter that's been written 5 years ago that's just been rehashed. You have to kind of go with the approach to make it new and exciting, and also find different ways to tell the story that will appeal. So we always tell people to make things as tangible as possible. Like if it costs 100 Rand to buy one pair of school shoes, then people understand if I donate 100 Rand, I'm having this impact and I'm solving this part of the problem. because we often find people who want to raise like R1 million, and that also puts people off. But if you can kind of break it down and say, we would like to raise, funds to help 50 children with school shoes, and we need 10,000 Rand, that's a much bigger approach. A much better approach, because obviously charities have many different needs. So you can't kind of package it all together and say, we need R1 million to help like 20 different things. But if you can take one concept that you think will be the best in social media that people will relate to, you have much better chance of raising money. Maybe break up 5 different needs into different projects that will be spaced out over a long period of time. And then it also is new for people the whole time. So it isn't the same concept the whole time, but it's just about sort of making it as tangible as possible, as bite-sized as possible, and also, achievable. And you just have to think about your network, like the possibility you have of raising that money. If you know your network can't support a campaign for R1 million, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, because you'll have the project to go on social media and then it stands still because you don't have that network to support it. But if you're raising 50,000 Rand, for example, and you think your network can maybe support 20,000 of that, you have a bit of a head start. So I think it's just to try and break things down as much as you can. But in the links that I shared on the chat, we have done a little step by step in terms of what works well for crowdfunding. But I think even if you don't use crowdfunding, you can still use those elements for Facebook, for mailers and things. But I think it will benefit everyone to have a look. All the research we've done, and just seeing like our top campaigns and how they performed, and what's the kind of elements that people respond to the best. But yeah, I think it's very much about trying to cut through the clutter, to try and make things tangible and emotive to everyone who's reading it, and also to keep things very concise. With the new sort of age, people don't like to read a lot. So if you can have like a short text with and maybe like a 1-minute video, that's a much more effective than maybe copying like 2 pages of your corporate proposal writing. And people just kind of switch off from that like totally. But if you can in about a minute understand exactly what the campaign's about, and what the person needs, and all the sort of important elements, you have a much better chance of raising money, because you have people's attention for a very short amount of time, so you really have to make the most of that time. So just keep things clear and concise, tangible and emotive, is what we always say.
Yes. Yeah, that is good. Those of you that are using donor forms that have been working with me on that, you set out your projects. Okay. Now, if you're going to raise funds and that, don't go and take all those projects and put it out there at the same time. You need to choose one of the projects, whatever's the most urgent and that kind of thing, and we market that particular project. Okay. That's the important thing to understand. Market that particular project. Push that project. All right? Because if you're going to go and you're going to go with a whole basket full of stuff, and that, I can tell you you're going to be a lot less effective than that. One other thing about video, okay, and that is this: a lot of organizations get this wrong. Businesses as well. They get it wrong. What do people think is, oh no, we've got to go and have a video produced, okay, and we've got to go and it's going to cost us a whole lot of money to do that. Well, no, actually not. Okay, our business sector, for example, during the COVID lockdown now, that for our business clients, I've been doing a number of videos for them, where I've actually literally just taken my cell phone, put it on a little tripod, which I've got here somewhere, okay, little tabletop tripod, sat outside here by the swimming pool and started talking to them, okay, dealing with some business principles, some advice and things like that. The following that I've got from those videos has actually been pretty huge. And again, you can talk about your organization. You can talk about some of the work you do. Christo, for example. Okay, Christo, you guys got a good thing going there as well. Talk about the camps and how the camps change people's lives. All right, tell them what you want to do after the lockdown, and how what the plans are. If you're doing something, or for example, one of the things I know that you guys need is that you would need staff salaries. Okay, if you can promote your work well, the kind of thing that you do, you're talking about your work and you're posting those little video clips and whatever, and making people aware and your donor base aware of it, then when it gets to the end of this month and you guys are short of funds or whatever, you've got a better chance of being able to pick up the phone and phone some of those donors, and they will give to you than if you do nothing. Okay, so right now, especially during the COVID-19, those of you that already have lists of contacts, maybe some of those people have never given. All right. In other cases, they may have established donors. Okay, get on the phone with those people. All right, but use social media like Facebook. I mean, we spoke about Facebook groups a few minutes ago. Okay, Facebook groups. If I go in here, create your own group. Okay, start finding your people, add them to the group so that you and your staff can start posting things. Go and get pictures of camps that happened last year. Okay, tell some stories about that. So that's a good route to go. Okay, Karen, I'm looking at you here as well. Same story. I mean, you guys have a home. Start telling some stories about the kids. Okay, some of the things that happen, even some of the funny things that happen. Okay, so that's important. Those that are doing animal causes, you know, one of the biggest mistakes that we make is this. We show the negative, we don't show the positive. Okay, so when I joined Transport Radio in 2000, all of their publication material had pictures of radio towers and transmitters and that, and you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. What they want is they want the hard story. And so I started turning around the whole situation, not only here in Africa, but working with my counterparts across the world. We turned the situation around and we started showing people listening to radio programs, people looking happy and that kind of thing. I want to tell you, in the next year, the turnaround in the funding was huge because now we were getting to the people's hearts. Okay, if you are, for example, Animal Anti-Cruelty League, you know, one thing I hate seeing on Facebook are pictures of emaciated animals, dogs and whatever. Okay, I hate seeing that. But show me a dog that's looking good and you're advertising your organization, it tells me a message subconsciously. We can take dogs that have had a bad background and look at this. They turn around, they're happy. This is what we do. We give dogs home and we get them in a great environment. People are happy with their animals. Start posting pictures like that and telling stories around that, and you will see the difference. Okay, one of the SPCAs in Johannesburg that I was dealing with, they're still clients of ours, but we were dealing with, they tried to tell me that they can't raise money for animal causes, and I looked at them and said, no, that's not true. That is not true. Okay. Same with an old age home in that same area. Trying to tell me they can't raise money. Nobody wants to give to old people causes. It's not true. It's not true. It's how you present it and how you market it that's important. Okay, I'm going to move on now quickly just to one other thing on Facebook, and that is the whole issue of sponsored advertising. Now, sponsored advertising in Facebook can be a little tricky to set up. Okay, so I'm just going to go over it, but I'm actually going to produce a video and put it on the Fundraisers Corner in the next few days, maybe this weekend, that will take you through that process, literally step by step. But if you come into, if you're on your wall and you come into the little arrow at the right there and you see there's manage ads. Now, if you don't have an ad manager set up already, what it's going to do is it's going to get you to go and open up the business manager account. Okay, no costs involved, but you can see there's your ad account and there's your business account. Okay, so if I click on business account, that will need to be set up, all right? And you can see right now under my, I've got 3 other businesses that are here. So let's just go back to Ads Manager. You want to set up an ad. So for that, you have to have a business page, all right? So once you go into your ad, you'll see that it consists of several things. You have your account overview. Okay, at the moment, I don't have an ad running, so it's not going to show anything. Then I have campaigns, okay, and that's campaign is called the NetWise ad campaign. In a campaign, you can have multiple ad sets, and each ad set can have multiple ads. So you just want to keep this simple, okay? It'll take you through this process. You set this thing up, campaign, it'll tell you ad set, and then you get to ads. And you can see this is our ad in here, okay? And you can see the ad is active, but the campaign is switched off. So that ad is approved, and it's okay to go. All right, so let's go back in here. Okay, here you can see I can edit the ad, and just to give you an idea, when you go and you set up your ad, you're going to come to this interface. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to identify things like who your audience are. You can see create the ad, and here's the preview of what the ad looks like. Okay, now again, if you've got too much wording in your ad or in your comment or whatever that you want, Facebook is going to turn around and say, sorry, it's too wordy. Okay, so the image needs to be kept fairly simple. In this area here, this is where you can tell your story. Okay, sorry. This is where you can tell your story, okay? And so you can see here, for example, there's all my information about the ad. All right. Now, once you've done that, you can then say, okay, I want to publish the ad or whatever, and that kind of thing. And you'll see here, there are various previews. You can see what the ad looks like on a desktop. You can see what it looks like in instant articles, the streamings, all of those different services. There's mobile, all of that. You can just go and click on these things, and it'll show to you how it's going to look in a particular area on Facebook. So you can see there, I've changed it. Okay. There's my desktop news feed. All right. So basically, going into that route, what happens is that you go and you create your ad, and then it'll ask you, how much do you want to spend on the ad? So there's my campaign, okay? Let's say I want to create a new campaign. All right, so the first thing I've got to do is select an objective, okay? What I'm looking for now is traffic towards my site. All right, once I've done that, I give the campaign a name. So I'm just going to call this new traffic. Call it whatever you want, okay? All right, now you set the budget. And you can set the budget. You can change, mine is in dollars, but you can change it to rands, okay? And then you select, what is my daily budget going to be? All right? And you can set your budget there. I'm prepared to spend X amount per day. Now, when you set this up, mine has been set up differently, but when you set it up, there is also an option to say, how much do I want to spend in a month? Okay? So it doesn't exceed that. Once you've done that, you move across. You select website. Don't worry about any of these settings. Now you come down to your audience. So if you have already worked on this, you can use your same audience, or you can create an audience. In which case I say here, the age group is 18 to 65. I can change the age group. I can say I want to make it 21 to 65 or whatever. What genders do I want? There's also more options available. I won't go into those now, where you can actually select a geographical area. All right. Once you've done that, okay, optimization and spending controls, there's all the information. There's your ad budget, etc., what it's going to cost. And once you've set all of these settings, you're going to move on to the next. Okay, so you're going to say continue. All right, so here's where we go. You can set up an ad as a carousel, so it can slide the images across, or a single image and video, or a collection of images. Okay, so you can do that. I'm going to use single image or video, which is the most common one. Here, you're going to add your images. So you can go and select your images that you want to add to the thing. You can create a slideshow, and you can create a video. So you might even have video clips and images in it, you can add them. And here's that interface I showed you now a few moments ago with all the options. So as you begin to add your items, let's say I go and I say, I'm going to add an image. Let's use that one again. Right, it'll add it, and you can see that. And what you do here is you go and add your headers and the text that you want. And you've got to be careful with this now, because here the rules are a lot tighter as to what you can and cannot do. As I said earlier, if there's too many words in that on here, they're going to tell you, no, sorry, too many words. Okay. If you go and you use, like for example, one of our clients in that does finance stuff. Okay. And he tried a header. He said, bankrupt, ? Let us help you. Instantly they threw that ad out and they said, no, sorry, you can't do that. You can't ask a question about a person's finances. Okay. So they do have a set of rules. The set of rules are available on the site here. Let's have a look here. Well, if you throw an error, it'll give you the link. But basically, you can go and you can look up the rules and say, okay, this is what I can do, what I can't. As long as you say in those parameters, you're okay. Okay. Then once you've done all of that, you can then look at a thing called Pixel, Facebook Pixel. Now, the way Facebook Pixel works is this. They give you a code, and what you do with the code is that gets embedded in your website. Okay, that links Facebook to your Google search. Now, let's say, for example, you're raising funds for animal care. Now, somebody goes onto Google and they go and search for animal care. Okay. And they find a site, but it's not your site, and they go to that site. Facebook Pixel picks up that information, and the next time that person goes and looks at their Facebook wall, your ad's going to show to them. Because it's picked up that you have an interest in that area. And Facebook Pixel does that. The other day that I was looking for internet service from Rain. I went onto Rain's website, okay? And I looked at their pricing structures, the whole lot. The very next time that I opened up my Facebook account, and that I was shown an AfriHost advert for the same services. Okay, that's how Facebook Pixel works for you. So if you are using this for fundraising, you put a story in there, you link it to your donation, whether it's donor force projects or whether it's Back a Buddy or whatever. And you link it to there. If somebody goes somewhere that's related to what you're doing, next time they're going to see your ad. And hopefully they'll go to your website. So it does make a difference. Okay? Right, so once you've got all that together, you would then click confirm. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to keep this ad. But you can see you have followed this process on the left all the way down. Okay? Once you've done that, you're going to end up with an ad that will then be submitted. And it's not an instant approval. They have algorithms that check your ads. And if it complies with their standards, then they will publish the ad. Okay? If not, they will notify you that your ad has been rejected. Okay? And they'll refer you back to those community rules. Any questions there? Okay, if you haven't tried this before, if you haven't tried this before, I just want to say to you, give it a shot, okay? As Zane said, what is really good is if you go and tell a story, okay? An ad or Facebook sponsored ads does not have to be an advert. Okay? Make it personal, make it an interesting story, and that will draw people to your site, to your site and your course. Okay, all right. So I'm going to move on. Facebook is the predominant platform that seems to work very well when it comes to fundraising. And right now, everybody is on it. Okay. The next one I want to take a look at is LinkedIn. Now, here you need to be a lot more careful. You would use LinkedIn more to attract businesses. Okay. More than individuals. The platform is specifically designed for that. So make use of it. Right. So I'm now logged into LinkedIn. I have a home page here, and this is pretty much followed now the route of Facebook walls. And this is the area where you are going to firstly advertise or share your course. All right. So the idea behind here is to pull in as many new people as you can. All right. Pull in as many new people as you can onto here get them in. And sometimes what happens is that people also share with people. Okay. Try to encourage people that you bring in to share your cause with other people, with their friends that are on LinkedIn. The one thing you don't want to try to do on LinkedIn is go and create a business page on LinkedIn. It is expensive. Okay. It gets very costly. So it's not really a good idea to do that. Okay. So sharing on the wall here, I normally share on the wall about three to four times a week. Because like Facebook, the wall moves and your ad is seen for a short period of time and then it disappears. Okay? But the most effective area in LinkedIn, I have found, has been the messaging platform. And there I can go through and I can go and select people. I can go and write individualized messages to people. And I find that that gets a better response. Okay, now from a business perspective, we have got business through LinkedIn. And what's been amazing is that we've got international business through it already. So the key thing to remember here is that you need to deal with this on a one-to-one basis with people. So I create a letter template. And what you do is we tell a story again, all right? We use pictures where we can, but I create a template and then I email people on a one-to-one basis in here. It's time consuming, but I do get a return from it. So while you're under lockdown, if you can do something like that, do it, okay? That's my advice to you on that one. So that's how I do it here. So I would go here, I would create a new message, put in the subject, whatever, write the message here, that kind of thing, attach an image, and that would get me going and that kind of thing. And yeah, sometimes people respond, sometimes they don't. All right, so that's another way that we do it, is in LinkedIn. Twitter, less success. All right, our experience with Twitter is that it's been great to keep simple notification and communications going with existing clients. Some clients take the time and they go and they use it, and others don't. I'll give you an example of somebody who uses Twitter very well, other than Donald Trump, is Elon Musk. Okay, I can tell you now, if you follow Elon Musk on Twitter, and you ask him a question about something that's happening at SpaceX, you're going to get an answer. Okay, you might not get it today, you might only get it tomorrow, but you are going to get an answer from Elon Musk. And I enjoy SpaceX and space and what they're doing. So I've had a few communications between myself and Elon Musk over the last 2 to 3 months, and that with no problem. He answers you. So in that sense, you know, if you are able to keep on and keep in touch with people and it suits your organization and what you're doing, then yes, use the platform. Okay, use the platform, but it's not going to be your primary platform. Now, there's one last thing I want to look at. I'm not going to go through some of the other social medias. You can use Instagram as well. Instagram on PC is not so nice, but certainly on your phone it is. But another thing is email. Okay, let's not understate the role of email. Now, on our sites that we develop for you, we have a tool here that we provide, and DonorForce comes with it, is a thing called AC1 mailing. It's a bulk mailer. Those of you who have used MailChimp, it's very similar to MailChimp, but the nice thing is that it's completely free, okay, for you to send emails. There's no annoying adverts or anything in this thing, but this is where we go and we develop or we do a lot of our marketing and some of our fundraising organizations. We use this tool. And it's great because it takes a bit of getting to get used to and to learn how nicely to land out your newsletters. But some of you will recognize that you got this email here, fundraising pop-up workshops. Okay, so what we have is that we have lists, and you can see this was sent to Gauteng and Western Cape fundraising. Okay. So the key thing is that use email. Now, people say to me, yeah, but what about email now? Yeah, people often don't open their email. Okay. So what we do is we say to you, develop an SMS list as well. So what we have is that we've got, just find it here. Yeah, we've got a tool that we built called SMS or SMS Pro, which interfaces with DonorForce and the other tools, which enables you to send an SMS. So we can go and we can say, okay, we want to send an SMS. We can create SMS groups. So if we're targeting particular people with particular interests, we can do that. And you can type a short message to them, and here you can select individual members, or you could add groups. Okay. So for example, Western Cape fundraisers, I can go and add them, and everybody on that particular group will get it. So what we do is when we are trying to raise funds, we will send you those people an SMS first, saying we are about to send you a very important email. Please, can you open this email and read it? We find that the number of people that open up the emails and read the emails is much greater than if we were to just send the email out. And that way we kind of jog people and we prompt people to go and read the emails. The process okay, so that's important to know that you need to use multiple ways and multiple systems in order to do all your marketing and things. All right, questions, comments at this stage? If you think I'm talking nonsense, feel free to tell me. I'm very
have you integrated any kind of WhatsApp communication yet?
We haven't yet, no. It is something that we are planning on doing. But at the moment, the technology for integrating it into our website systems, and that is not where it needs to be. It is something we're looking at. And I know that WhatsApp was very, very resistant to the idea of integrating into websites and things. Okay, purely because they still operate pretty much as a free service, and the last thing they want to do is go and have thousands and thousands and thousands of people responding off a website. And that's why you'll even notice that the WhatsApp desktop doesn't allow you to make video calls.
Okay.
Okay, so some guys have gone and they've done specific programming to do that. Like for example, AfriHost. Okay, you'll see that you can do WhatsApp technical support with them. Now, originally when they started out with this thing a year ago, what their technical guys were doing is that each of them had a cell phone next to them. And the WhatsApps were being handled off a cell phone. And eventually in that they wrote a program to try to integrate some of those things, but it still requires them to use a SIM card for each particular user. And then they've tied it in through programming with their cell phone apps. So it's not an easy thing to do, and we have found that it is effective. I'll tell you this much. Okay, I'll give you an example where we've used it very effectively. Is that in the business sector here, we went through a stage towards the end of last year where many of our clients were not paying their hosting. Okay. And we were talking, we're only talking 148 Rand a month. But when you multiply that by about 300 people, it becomes a lot. And when you backlog some of that over 6 months, it becomes a substantial amount of money. Okay. So what we did is we did what generally all ISPs do. If your debit order fails, they notify you. If you don't pay it by a certain date, what happens is you get cut off. Okay. You get suspended. And we then started notifying clients or talking to clients on WhatsApp saying, what's happened, we haven't received your account. That got a very good response. Okay. And so, we implemented that for a while, but it became laborsome because now you've got to go through every single one of those and you've got to communicate with those people. It doesn't help putting out a general group announcement. Right. So if I was to translate that into how you would work with your donors, you could use WhatsApp and that to communicate on a one-to-one with your donors. Okay. You can use WhatsApp Business, and you can add all your donors there to give general announcements into a group, and have it done in such a way that they don't respond back to you on that group. They can deal with you on a one-to-one, but not on the group. Otherwise, what inevitably happens is that everybody's got everybody's numbers and everybody knows who the donors are. And that's not a good scenario. Okay, so you can use WhatsApp, create one big WhatsApp group of all your folk, but also let people know that they can come back to you on WhatsApp. But what we can do on your website, is that we can, if we are doing your website, what we can do is we can actually put a WhatsApp link on the website that will that you could use to open up WhatsApp desktop, okay, in order to do something. Or if you're on the cell phone, that somebody that goes to your site on the cell phone can literally click on the WhatsApp button and then it will open up a communication directly to you. So those are innovative things that you can do, and that's yet another social media platform that you can use. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Do you know anybody that has done an integration?
We're busy working with someone at the moment. Also, the guys that did the government one. They're wanting to do something similar for Solidarity Fund, but it's quite costly to do that kind of.
Yeah, it is, and most of the cost actually goes into the research, not the actual programming, because to research WhatsApp is very difficult. I mean, I've tried finding WhatsApp app APIs and codes and stuff like that. It's very difficult to do, and that's one of the things. So inevitably, what happens is that you go looking for stuff, and eventually you find something that might work for you, right? Or you go searching for stuff, for code and whatever, and ways in which to do things, and then you hit your head on a dead, kind of little brick wall, and that's not helpful at all. So it is finding stuff for WhatsApp and actually doing integrations with WhatsApp is extremely difficult.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Do you guys work from home?
Yes. Luckily, we've been working virtually for some time now, a couple of days a week. So we used to do, sort of 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. So we've grown accustomed to it, but then of course a big shock with no more at all. But the team is coping. Some new skills we have to learn, showing respect for each other over Zoom, talking to black screens. It's very difficult. That kind of thing.
We've been working from home for the past, almost 3 years now.
Wow.
We had offices in Edenvale, and we used to all, come to the office and work there and that kind of thing. But I mean, Tyron stays in Alberton. When he would leave for work, it's like 6:15 in the morning. And if there wasn't an accident on the N3, he'd get to work like 7:30.
There was always an accident on the N3.
There was always an accident on the highway, and sometimes he'd pitch up at 10:15.
Yeah, it's just
and
not.
So when fiber started getting rolled out, what we did is we decided, no, let's try working from home and using fiber. We never looked back. And then I moved down to Cape Town.
Our work is easy in the fact that we can work from home. Most of my work is remote regardless. So guys that have that luxury in today's world actually can do it. But what it has given us is a lot of experience how to have meetings and conduct business remotely. And that's basically what this is about, is sharing that amongst us, your stories, our stories. We have to have meetings where we deal with a client who would prefer to see us face to face, especially now in lockdown. And we have to Skype with people or Zoom with people or team view with people that are not all that technologically savvy. And it does pose challenges, but to continue business, the same as everyone now finds themselves in lockdown. We've had to find ways around that for the last 3 years. So we've got a little bit of an edge at the moment. So this one thing that I read the other day, and it's about the most profound, simplistic sentence I've heard since this virus broke out, was you hear everyone and you see posts on every kind of social media about, I can't wait till it gets back to normal. And what I read was very simple. This is the new normal. For the foreseeable future, this is where we sit. And after the virus, things will never be back exactly like they were. The world has now changed. Like it or not, the whole world, once the virus is even eliminated, has changed. More people will work from home. More people will be unemployed. Funds are going to be an issue, especially in our country. People criticize our government and our president quite a lot for what they've done, but the world leaders are praising him for what he's done. We haven't had the explosion Europe's had or that America's had. And the good side of that is we have the potential to come out of this on the right foot to build an economy and start moving forward. Keeping in mind, even he said so himself, it's not going to be the same as it was. We're going to have to do things differently, smarter. Driving out petrol to go see a client that you could Zoom with isn't smart.
No.
On so many levels.
Cost that you also save, no?
Managing
Sorry,
one's
Cara?
time, being effective, and getting to
Rent,
the point.
we are now 5 weeks in lockdown with our 155 children. So,
Yeah.
so we are working and to keep them busy, I mean, that was actually the challenge for us, to keep them busy during the holiday, because they stayed like a week before the time they stayed in already, and they are still in. Nobody going to their families or whoever, holiday parents, so they're staying in. And so 2 weeks ago, we started off with a study program. So they are basically schooling now, homeschooling. So what we did when the lockdown started like 5 weeks ago, we started off with putting a business letter into a poster, because people want to see the picture, and you know, we can't put our children's faces on Facebook or WhatsApp nowhere because of the regulations. And it really worked for us, because we put our basic needs in the poster with our banking details, and that worked. And we also put like the reference, like lockdown, COVID-19 with your name. And I mean, I can just ask the financial manager to do the lines, so I can see exactly what's coming in and what's going out. So from our side, that helped. And we also did the WhatsApp thing, sending it, the same poster also out to all our people on WhatsApp, what we had, the databases, and that also worked for us. But I mean, it's getting difficult. CSIs, I mean, it's difficult to just to get in. And we're now busy with our new budgets, putting up everything together. And we can already see that people who gave you like a 50,000 is only giving now 10,000. So we can see it's getting difficult, but you need to work smarter.
I had a very, very interesting chat the other day with a friend of mine who works for the Phoenix Trust, and she used to work for Doctors Without Borders in the fundraising department. And when COVID hit, you know, I thought, and one would think being in fundraising so long, that your gut would kind of be right. And my gut was telling me, oh no, you know, there's just no money for donations. People need their money. People don't have work. They're holding on to it. And we saw the complete opposite.
The opposite side, yes. Yeah.
Paul. And I spoke to Nyasha, and she said to me, at Doctors Without Borders, they used to call it the CNN effect. If anything was on CNN and there was anything that was related to fear in any way, the money would pour in. Because people could feel the fear, they could feel how this could affect them, and they would like try and eliminate that fear by donating.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not going to carry on forever, but certainly with the tsunamis or the this or the that.
So the hearts are more open. The hearts are more open.
They are, Karen. It does have the potential, and luckily we're in a world where we kind of jaded. Everything's a little bit on edge, and we don't trust each other as much as we should. But something like this shows that there is still humanity, and it's great to see.
Exactly.
But on a personal level, you with all your kids at home, I now know for a fact that the entire education system lied to me. Every time they sent home a letter and told me that my child was an absolute pleasure to have in their class.
Exactly. Now we have 155 of them here.
Yeah, no. My child is not a pleasure to have in class, and long division was sent by some satanic force to test my patience. Oh, no. We have to laugh. Otherwise, we will cry.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But yes, we can make a difference, and there is money. It is tight. Look, as you said, Karen, someone that was donating 50,000 is now putting 10,000 in for whatever reason. It might not be an income problem for that person, but it might be, well, the money I have has to last me now indefinitely. It might be an income problem for that person. I mean, I've seen it, and this is why my faith in humanity is restored a bit.
I'm on a video conference right now. So can I call you back later?
Because people, even that are going without, I've seen people who've had their salaries cut by half are still donating.
Exactly.
I have a friend of mine whose livelihood has been put on hold. He works at the Joburg market, and they're not running. I mean, he goes in like once a week now. He used to be there religiously 6 days a week in the morning. Now he's maybe once a week there. And yet, the other day, he asked me if I know where he can take the 50 loaves of bread and mealie meal and tin foods that he had bought to give to the people less fortunate than him.
Yeah.
So humanity is playing a big role in this.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Kathy at the Bible Institute. The last webinar that Brent gave, he said you must keep in touch with your donors. So I really took that to heart. And I got a list of our donors and their phone numbers, and that's where keeping records is important. Not everyone had a phone number, but when I eventually got their phone numbers, I phoned as many of them as I could. Just a hi, how are you? This is the college. We just wanted to know how you are. How can we pray for you? And they were absolutely overwhelmed. It was just amazing. Now, you can't say that from an animal welfare society, how can I pray for you? But you could say, can I tell you how Fido and Tiddles are doing? Something like that. And it was just, the response was really, I wasn't expecting such a warm thank you for keeping in touch. But to get to the actual crunch, we sent out an appeal letter, and I used the email to actually personalize the appeal. Like I said, dear Catherine, dear Zane, I'm sending you this appeal letter because I want you to know that we really value your friendship and so on. I mean, you will know what to say to your donors. And would you consider being a part of this with us? And we raised, my word, a lot of money doing that in 1 week. One man, and then I phoned the donors. After they donated, I phoned them. Even before the money was in the bank, they just said, we will donate. I phoned them. And one guy said, well, thank you for letting me know that there was a need. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. And he gave 100,000 rand. Thank you, he said. And I was blown away. So the personal touch. Back to you, Brent.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, that is important. That personal touch and communicating with the donors and that is very important. What I've found, though, sometimes what happens is that, you'll say to an organization, when I'm busy consulting with them, I'll say to them, look, you need to pick up the phone and phone some of your donors, or you need to, yeah, but we've got so many, we can't do that. Well, that's not true. You can, even if you can't do all, you can do some. The point is, if you're not prepared to start somewhere and actually help yourself in this process, you are going to land up in a situation where, just throw your hands up in resignation because you're not going to get anywhere. You do the best you can to communicate with your donors. Okay. The other thing with social media fundraising as well is that, you know, in all of this, you're referring people back to your website. They become the first contacts that once they start, they subscribe for a newsletter or they do whatever. Okay. Then what you need to do is you need to start working on them so that they get to the point where they become the first time donation is given. All right. After that, you've got to continue building that relationship. Now, in the case of social media, you know, when we used to do the appeal letters, it would have been a case of, you know, we send out the letter. The old practice would have been to put a self-addressed kind of stamped envelope in so they can just put a check in there and send it back to you, right? And then you get it back. On social media, it doesn't quite work that way. Okay, you need to put it into people's face and put it into people's face and put it into people's face. Some people will kind of come back to your website and that kind of thing, but then you've got to go and you've got to keep working that cycle with people until eventually they actually start joining up. Same as when you have people that have been giving or have started giving after coming to you on social media, they give once or twice and then the third month they don't give. If you don't follow those people up, you will never get them into regular giving. Okay, and that's where the strength lies. So, for example, if you're in a situation, let's say, for example, you've used BackaBuddy and you've got something going there. You want those people not to only give once. You want them to give over and over and over again. Okay. Now, if you've got people that are giving 100,000 Rand a month towards your organization, that's one person giving 100,000. If you're relying on that person to keep you afloat, what happens if that person goes bankrupt? Then you've got a problem because now you've just lost 100,000 Rand. Okay. And that's where the relationship fundraising comes in very well. What is better, to have a crowdfunding situation, which becomes a regular funding situation of 500 Rand or 100 Rand or 200 Rand a month, and you keep building on that, than to have big gifts of 100,000 Rand. The big gifts are nice, but don't allow your organization to be dependent upon them. You need to build up as many donors as you can on the bottom part. As I said, we do a triangle. The bottom part of the triangle is where most of the people are in relationship fundraising. So what happens is that you might have, say, for example, 5,000 people there, and they would give between 50 Rand and say 2,000 Rand. And between 2,000 and 10,000 are the middle tier. They are less. And then your top givers, which are your 50,000, 100,000, form that very top section of the triangle. Now, if you can keep that and you can keep working on that, and those people are giving regularly, your financial situation becomes far more stable over the long term. And if two people stop giving because now they've lost their jobs or whatever, so be it. You're going to pick up another two soon anyway. Okay.
Friends, can I chip in there quick?
Stability.
Friends, can I chip in there quick? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. I just wanted to say, based on what you've just said now, we often tell our NGO clients that they're wasting their time if they just run a crowdfunding campaign, because there's so much effort that goes into making a successful crowdfunding campaign. It is hard work. And if you've done all that hard work and you don't nurture any of those donors to become recurring donors, what have you done all that work for? The work was to get those individuals interested in your organization and a small little entry touch point so they can form part of your database and you can follow a donor retention strategy. Otherwise, you put all of it in, you maybe get a 50,000 out, and then, you know, you got to look at sustainability.
Yes. Well, this is the whole thing. And you know, again, crowdfunding in that is great when you've got a single cause and everybody gives to that cause. But as I say, if you don't follow through on that, you've got, you know, you've wasted your time and your effort on the thing. And yes, you get the money in that now, but you know what? This is what happens in that sometimes, and this is not knocking crowdfunding in any way. I think it's a great tool and it's done really well. Okay. But basically what happens, whether it's a crowdfunding scenario or whether it's a golf day or a dinner or anything like that, what happens is an organization lands up living from one fundraising event to another. Okay, and then the funds are constantly doing this. There's no stability in it. Okay, and then what happens if a campaign fails? I've seen campaigns fail flat on their face. Okay, where every indication seemed to be that this was going to work. Okay, and that people were going to get this right and they were going to do it, it's going to bring them a whole lot of money. They send out the campaign and it's dead. Now, when I was at Transport Radio South Africa made that mistake. Okay, so they were starting to do appeal letters, and they were doing 3 appeal letters a year. So they would do an April appeal for Easter, they would do a June, July winter appeal, and then they would do a summer appeal here when people get their bonuses. And everything was going fine for about 2 or 3 years while they were doing this. And, you know, we'd get the appeal letters and that. We would put out an appeal letter for women's program in KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, I promise you that women's programming, that got funding. So we got like just under R1 million in for that thing. So we then moved on to the next one, the next one, and the next one, next one. Eventually in that we hit one in June, July. And we sent the mailing out, and we didn't know this, a day before the post office went on strike. So those letters only arrived in people's boxes 6 weeks down the line. It was an absolute disaster. And that single event became the downfall of Transport Radio South Africa. Okay, because to recover from that, because they were relying on event after event after event, to recover from that was almost impossible. And eventually what happened was that the Africa region absorbed the South African office and that kind of thing. And it's tragic. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so the whole thing of building up, and if you do a crowdfunding thing, okay, you get all those contacts and that information in, you need to follow those people up. You need to build your relationship with them, be it through newsletters, be it through a WhatsApp group or whatever, but build those relationships, because people only give to what they know. That's the reality. They'll give to what they know. Okay, and that's what I want to just leave with you folk in that, and say to you, look, fundraising is not an easy game, but it boils down to this: you have not because you ask not. Okay, and that ask isn't a once-off ask; it's a continuous ask. Use the social media as a means in which to get people to your website and introduce them properly to your organization. Okay, that is critically important. And don't use it as an end. All right, don't use it as an end. When you do posting, always put your URL in, always put a contact phone number in, and use that. So that's my suggestion to you at this stage. Okay, anybody else want to say anything?
Brent,
Hi.
Kathy.
Go ahead.
Kathy, are you on? Can I speak?
Kathy is on.
Oh, Kathy is on. Brent, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I just want to end off to say that you can do everything, but you have to have faith in these times. And
Exactly.
you believe that the Lord will really bless your company or your family. We have to believe in that. So that's all that I want to end off, because you can't do. I'm doing marketing and funding, and it's not easy in these times. So if you don't have that, it's not going to happen.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is.
Thank you.
All right, so guys, we're going to close off, and I appreciate everybody being involved and that's with us. And yeah, we'll look forward to the next pop-up workshop.